Blessed good morning, honorable members, and those under the sound of my voice. Today in our Moments of Impact devotional segment, I'd like to speak from the topic, Guard Your Integrity, Part 1. Integrity is one of the most important non-negotiable character traits every leader must possess. Integrity is the quality of being honest, ethical, and having strong moral principles that are consistently upheld even when no one is watching. There are two reasons today I want to share with you why all of us as leaders must guard our integrity. Number one, integrity will safeguard you from corruption. No leader, no matter what sphere of society they lead in, whether it's a church, business, government, is exempt or immune from the possibility of getting caught up in corruption. All leaders, we're all human. And the Bible tells us, no good thing dwelleth in our flesh. This simply means we are all prone to falling into the sinkhole of corruption. However, guarding your integrity will prevent you from becoming the perpetrator of corruption. The second reason why it's important for us to guard our integrity is that integrity will safeguard us from suffering loss. Once your integrity is compromised, you will suffer loss of respect, loss of trust, loss of credibility, loss of influence, and last but not least, loss of legacy. The truth of the matter is, your leadership is too important for you to lose so much because of compromised integrity. In conclusion, as our country gears up for the next general election, I want to encourage each of you under the sound of my voice to guard your integrity. Don't get caught up in any form of skullduggery. In other words, don't get caught up in any underhanded, unscrupulous, or dishonest behavior or activities. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 9 says, people with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will be exposed. He that has ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. I leave you today with this final thought. Don't allow your desire to win your seat cause you to compromise your integrity and touch the accursed thing. Your integrity is worth more than a seat in Parliament. Selah. Think and act on these things. Stay tuned for part 2 of guarding your integrity at the next sitting of this honorable house. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we are so grateful today for the gift of life. We thank you, God, for sparing our lives to see yet another day and the beginning of a brand new week. Father, today we humbly come to you asking you to have mercy upon our nation. Heal our land, Almighty God, of crime and violence. We pray today for your divine peace and your divine protection. We ask, Almighty God, that you will touch the hearts of the people of our nation. Take away the spirit of anger. Take away this revengeful and bloodthirsty spirit that is pervading in our nation. We ask today, in the name of Jesus, that you will come and see about our concerns. Now, Father, we lift up our politicians to you and our lawmakers. And we pray that you would help them to guard their integrity. Help them to walk uprightly. Help them to do the right thing every time, even when no one is watching. Help them to be men and women of morals, standards, and of character. Help them to be men and women who value truth over lies, who value right over wrong. In their weaknesses, provide them with strength. Almighty God, we pray for today's proceedings, and we ask that you would equip our leaders with wisdom. We pray in the name of Jesus that you would lead and guide their thoughts, their deliberations, and the debates this day. We pray that your perfect will may be done in this honorable house. For it's in Jesus' name we pray, and all of God's people say, amen. Let us pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Philip Davis, Chester Cooper, Fred Mitchell, Gladys Hannah Martin, Alfred Sayers, Dr. Michael Darble, Slade Sweeting, Keith Bell, Wayne Monroe, Joe Colby Davis, Ginger Moxley, Mario Bolag, Jomo Campbell, Basil McIntosh, Miles LaRota, Pia Global Rowe, Lisa Ramming, Zane Lightbourne, Dr. Hubert Minnis, Jamal Strawn, John Pinder, Marcus Roll, Leon Lundy, Kirk Cornish, Wade Watson, Leonardo Lightbourne, Leslie Miller Bryce, Leroy Major, Sylvanus Petty, Mikel Bonnaby, Michael Pintard, James Swayze Thompson, Aram Lewis, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, Adrian Gibson, Adrian White, Kingsley Smith, Darren Pickstock.
Good morning, honorable members. Communications by the Speaker. None. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Laying of documents by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
No laying of documents by ministers.
Statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fox Hill.
So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, on Sunday, the 22nd of March, 2026, it marked the 96th birthday of the late Sir Lyndon O. Pinling, who served our country as Premier and then Prime Minister from 1967 to 1992. No one has come close to that unbroken record of success at the polls. I wish, as chair of the National Honors Committee, he is a national hero by statute, I wish to mark the day in the House of Assembly today as the day most proximate to the actual birth date. I had hoped that there would have been some agreement on this as a public observance or national holiday, but alas, we are not there yet. You may recall the political record of him as having served in the House of Assembly from 1956 to 1997. His record as a House member is exceeded only by that of the late Sir Roland Simonet. You may also recall the constitutional steps with which he is associated: the lowering of the voting age to 18, the repatriation of the immigration and police powers to the government in 1969, the bringing of majority rule in 1967, the establishment of national insurance, the social services safety net, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Central Bank of the Bahamas, and the College of the Bahamas, now the University of the Bahamas, Bahamas Air, and of course, national independence in 1973. I had the privilege of working with him, having met him as a student in 1969 at St. Augustine's College. A whole host of my generation tried to pattern ourselves after him as the men who we should become. One day, the full story will be told of all he's done for the country, and perhaps one day there will be an agreement on the central role that he played that requires a special place in our written records. Until that time, I pay this brief tribute to the man that the late Sir William Allen described as having bestrode the Bahamas like a colossus, Lyndon Oscar Pinling. Rest in peace.
Thank you, honorable member. Further order that the communications be brought up. Order that the communications to lie on the table. Further communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Pine Ridge.
Deputy Speaker, I rise today as Minister for Grand Bahama to table for debate two resolutions of real consequence to the people of Grand Bahama and to the wider economic future of our country. The first resolution seeks the approval of this honorable House for the government to guarantee a borrowing of $200 million by Grand Bahama Energy Company Limited through a consortium of banks led by Standard Chartered Bank for the acquisition of all the ordinary voting shares of the Grand Bahama Power Company. The second resolution seeks the approval of this House for the government to guarantee a borrowing of $80 million from Royal Bank Bahamas Limited to assist with capital expenditure and working capital. In each case, Grand Bahama Energy Company Limited is the vehicle through which this course is being pursued. These resolutions come before this House because the people of Grand Bahama have carried an energy burden for far too long. Families across the island have had to meet electricity bills that place steady strain upon household finances. Small businesses have had to absorb costs that weaken their ability to hire, expand, and compete. Investors studying Grand Bahama have had to weigh a power structure that has too often worked against the very growth the island needs. So this debate reaches well beyond finance and legal form. It touches the cost of living, cost of doing business, the pace of economic recovery, and the fair treatment of a major island whose people have paid rates above those born across much of the rest of the Bahamas. Mr. Deputy, Grand Bahama holds immense promise. It has the geography, the industrial base, the port assets, the commercial history, and the human talent to be a far stronger center of growth than current conditions allow. Yet, one of the barriers that has stood in the way of fuller recovery has been the cost of electricity. High power costs distort every calculation. They affect whether a family can save. They affect whether a shop owner can take on another worker. They affect whether a manufacturer can expand production. They affect whether a young person sees Grand Bahama as a place where a stable future can be built. That is why the issue before us today must be treated as part of a wider program of economic renewal. The government has approached this matter in a deliberate way. Grand Bahama Energy Company Limited was formed as a special purpose vehicle wholly owned by the government of the Bahamas for the purpose of acquiring the ordinary voting shares of the Grand Bahama Power Company. The first resolution therefore addresses the acquisition step itself. The second addresses the support required for capital works and working capital. Taken together, they create a structure through which the public interests can be brought far closer to the center of decision-making in the energy sector in Grand Bahama. Deputy Speaker, there's a wider principle at stake here. Government has a duty, where the public burden grows too heavy, to use the lawful tools available to bring relief, restore confidence, and create better conditions for growth. That is what these resolutions seek to do. They give shape to a serious effort to align energy policy with the needs of the people and the economic future of Grand Bahama. They support a path toward stronger oversight, better planning, and a clearer public purpose in an area that affects every home, every enterprise, and every investment decision on the island. This administration has placed energy reform near the center of its program because affordable and dependable power sits at the heart of modern life and modern commerce. In Grand Bahama, that truth carries particular force. A stronger energy framework can help reduce pressure on families. It can improve the climate for enterprise. It can strengthen the island's hand in attracting investment. It can support the exponential growth in tourism that we are seeing, logistics, light industry, fine chemicals, and the broader service industry. In that sense, these resolutions are about far more than a corporate transaction. They are about creating the conditions in which Grand Bahama can move with greater confidence and with greater fairness. It is also right that the House should deal with these matters openly and properly. Section 43 of the Public Debt Management Act 2021 provides that guarantees involving financial liability require the prior approval of the House of Assembly, signified by resolution. That requirement is there for good reason. It ensures parliamentary oversight. It ensures public accountability. It ensures that measures carrying financial consequence for the government come before the people's representatives for debate and approval. So the tabling of these resolutions today reflects financial order, legal order, and respect for the authority of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the people of Grand Bahama deserve to hear clearly what guides this effort. They deserve a government that sees the burden they carry and acts with purpose. They deserve a government that understands that electricity rates in Grand Bahama have long been a matter of fairness as much as a matter of economics. They deserve a government prepared to move beyond commentary and take responsibility for building a better framework. I also wish to make a broader point about confidence. Grand Bahama's future depends upon confidence in its prospects, confidence in its institutions, and confidence in the seriousness of public policy. When a government shows that it is prepared to address structural barriers to growth, confidence grows. When a government shows that it is prepared to stand with families and businesses facing real pressures, confidence grows. When a government shows that it is prepared to bring difficult matters to Parliament and defend them openly, confidence grows. These resolutions therefore speak to the kind of country we mean to be, a country prepared to confront hard issues with clarity, discipline, and public purpose. On Wednesday of this week, Mr. Speaker, we will substantively debate the resolutions led by the member for Cat Island, Rumpke, and San Salvador, who will outline full details. For the people of Grand Bahama, the practical meaning of this debate is straightforward. They want a stronger system. They want better service. They want a fairer basis on which power is produced, financed, and managed. They want relief from a burden that has sat too heavily upon family budgets and commercial life. They want to feel that Grand Bahama's future is being treated with the seriousness and respect it deserves. Those expectations are fair. It speaks to the daily realities of working people, small business owners, pensioners, parents, and young Bahamians trying to make a life on that island, my island, Grand Bahama Island. So, Deputy Speaker, I table these resolutions for debate with a clear conviction. Grand Bahama should carry a fairer energy future than the one it has known for too long. Its families should have a better prospect than permanent pressure from high electricity costs. Its businesses should have a stronger platform for growth than the one they have had to navigate. And its wider economy should have an energy framework that supports expansion rather than restrains it. That is why these resolutions matter. That is why they are before the House. And that is why I commend them to the serious consideration of this honorable House. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. Order that the communications be brought up. Order that the communications do lie on the table. Further communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
Good morning, Mr. Deputy Speaker, parliamentarians, Bahamians everywhere. It is indeed a day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I rise to provide an update on additional initiatives being undertaken by this government to expand housing opportunities and to further advance our efforts to regularize communities for Bahamians across our archipelago. On behalf of this Davis-led administration, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I give notice that I will be tabling two resolutions today, namely, a resolution to transfer land from the Treasurer to the Minister of Housing, which will be referred to as the Pitt Road Resolution, and secondly, a resolution to transfer land from the Treasurer to the Minister of Housing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which will be referred to as the Exuma Resolution. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this administration continues to fulfill a clear commitment made to the Bahamian people to expand access to land, deliver housing, and to confront and resolve long-standing problems that for too long were allowed to persist without meaningful action. For many years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, far too many Bahamians have struggled to access land and housing in a secure and meaningful way. In too many cases, persons have found themselves trapped in a cycle where their single most valuable asset, their home, lacks legal title and the certainty required to provide real security to access financing or to simply pass that asset on to the next generation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister Philip Edward Davis has been clear on this issue from day one. It is not acceptable for Bahamian families to live without the security of tenure, to build homes without title, or to be locked out of opportunity because of problems that have been allowed to linger for decades and decades and decades. That is not a position for a debate. It is a principle that has guided this administration. Mr. Deputy Speaker, and what defines this Prime Minister and this government is that we do not simply talk about these problems, we act on them. We do not leave them to drift. We do not pass them on. We confront them, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and we fix them. That is the approach that defines this administration, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Not endless study, not delay, not promises, but deliberate and practical action. Where intervention is required, we intervene. Where decisions must be made, we make them. And where the Bahamian people have waited for far too long, we deliver. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Davis, this government has taken a clear and structured approach to these challenges, combining long-term reform with immediate action and ensuring that progress is not something we speak about, but something that we actually deliver. In the long term, after decades of discussion and multiple attempts, this administration has successfully advanced the legislative framework for land adjudication and registration. That reform, Mr. Deputy Speaker, lays the foundation for a modern system of land ownership, one that will bring clarity, finality, and security of title across this country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, We recognize that the Bahamian people could not be asked to wait for reform any longer. And so, in the immediate term, this government has moved decisively to intervene and to take an active role in the regularization of title. We have done so in a manner that is lawful, structured, fair, and accessible with one clear objective: to place deeds into the hands of Bahamians.
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is not theory, this is action. This administration has undertaken regularization efforts in southern New Providence. This administration moved in Fox Hill to bring certainty to residents who have lived on their land for generations. This administration acted in Bosing Town to resolve a dispute rooted in proceedings from the 1960s. This administration took decisive steps in Abaco, including the acquisition of land, to bring order and certainty to communities affected by historical title issues. On Moores Island, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this administration completed almost 300 conveyances to finally provide long-promised title deeds to residents there.
Yes.
Across this country, Mr. Deputy Speaker, hundreds of Bahamian families are now directly benefiting from these interventions. Families who once lived with uncertainty are now seeing a path to ownership, to security, and to opportunity. Beyond title regularization, this government has also taken concrete steps to expand access to housing more broadly. We restarted the government's affordable housing program through the construction of new homes. We have increased the government's rental housing stock by rehabilitating units that had been left abandoned. We are developing new subdivisions, and we are supporting private sector developers and individual home builders through targeted concessions and policy support. Mr. Deputy Speaker, housing is not a luxury. It is a basic necessity, and access to affordable housing is essential to the stability of families, the strengthening of communities, and the prosperity of our nation. That is why this government has treated housing not as an afterthought, but as a central pillar of national development. And against that backdrop, I am pleased to table these two resolutions before the House. Each of these resolutions, Mr. Deputy Speaker, relates to land currently vested in the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. In each case, the purpose of the resolution is to authorize the transfer of those lands to the Ministry of Housing so that they may be utilized for housing. Mr. Deputy Speaker, one resolution concerns lands at Pitt Road in New Providence. The other concerns land in Georgetown, Exuma. While the circumstances, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of each are different, the objective is the same: to place these lands under the control of the ministry so that they can be properly developed, regularized, and made available for the benefit of Bahamian families.
Yes.
I first turn, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to lands at Pitt Road in New Providence. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, we're all familiar with Pitt Road. I think no one more familiar than the Honourable Minister and the Member of Parliament for Charlotte.
Yes.
This, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is an historic area, a community built over time by hard-working Bahamian families, families who settled there, who raised their children there, who built their homes there, sacrifice and determination. It is a close-knit community, a real community.
Yes.
But it is also a community, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that developed without the benefit of formal planning, without proper subdivision, and without clear title. Over the years, it has grown organically, and today, dozens of Bahamian families live on approximately 3 acres of land without the legal certainty that they deserve. For generations. Mr. Deputy Speaker, some would look at a situation like that and turn away. Some would say it is too complicated, too difficult, too messy to address. But not this Prime Minister, not this government, and not the Honourable Minister and Member of Parliament for Charlotte. But I wish to commend the Honourable Minister here because he has been steadfast in ensuring that this matter is brought forward. We have made a conscientious decision, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we will confront difficult issues, not avoid them.
Yes.
That we will step into communities like Pitt Road and do the hard work required to bring order, to bring structure, and to bring certainty. That is why this government has moved to acquire these lands. And let me be clear. This is not about displacing people. And I repeat that. This is not about displacing people. This is about supporting them.
Yes, secure.
We will work with the residents of Pitt Road. We will engage the community. We will chart a path forward that allows for the regularization of their occupation, the improvement of their infrastructure, and the creation of a safer, healthier, and orderly environment in which families can live. That is progress, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This is about giving people certainty. Certainty that their home is secure. Certainty that their children can inherit it. Certainty, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that they can live with basic human dignity
Yes.
and respect.
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I know that this is a communication, so I have to be direct and neutral. But you know, this is the season of Lent.
Yes.
And in the season of Lent, you know, God teaches us and tells us if we could help somebody as we pass along, then we know that our life will not be in vain.
Thank you. Amen.
Mr. Deputy Speaker,
For that.
it is also about improving health and safety, proper planning, proper access, proper infrastructure. And you see the Minister of Energy is here.
Yes,
She can put in all the proper
Right here.
electricity and utilities in there.
Yep.
Because Bahamian families, Mr. Deputy Speaker, deserve to live in communities that are not only vibrant, but safe and sustainable.
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, in short, this is simply about improving lives. This is what a caring government does. We do not stand on the sidelines. We do not leave communities behind to struggle on their own. We step in, we do the heavy lifting, and we ensure that Bahamian families, no man, no woman, no child
none.
is left behind.
That's right.
I'm excited about the education bill, which is coming up next.
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, and of course, youth. That is the commitment of this government, and this is what we intend to deliver for the people of Pitt Road. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now turn to Georgetown, Exuma. Madam Speaker, for far too long, there has been the perception that planning, development, and opportunity in this country have been centered most exclusively in the Providence, but not with this Davis administration. This Prime Minister and this Deputy Prime Minister are both island men. They understand the needs of the islands. They understand the people. And this administration has been intentional in ensuring that the development reaches every island in this Commonwealth. We have constructed government homes across the country, starting, of course, with the Honorable Minister Jobert Colby Davis in Abaco. We've gone to Eleuthera. We're down in San Salvador. We've gone to Grand Bahama. We have moved beyond talk and into action, ensuring that Bahamians across our islands are not left behind. And today, we take another decisive step. Exuma is booming. Tourism is at record levels. Investment is increasing. And the honorable member for Exuma has increased opportunities there. What that means, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that with that growth has come very real big challenges. Exuma has land, but very little accessible, serviced, affordable land to Bahamians. There are limited opportunities for ordinary Bahamians to acquire land in the very areas where they live, where they work, and where they raise their families. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, without intervention, the very success of Exuma risks leaving Bahamians on the outside of that growth. That is not acceptable, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with our Deputy Prime Minister or this government. That is why we are acting. Through this resolution, we are moving to transfer over 60 acres of land in Georgetown to the Minister of Housing for the development of a structured, multi-phase residential community. Way to go, Exuma. When completed, this development is expected to yield in excess of 200 residential lots, over 200 opportunities, over 200 families, over 200 futures secured.
Very good.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is how we ensure that Bahamians participate in the growth of Exuma. This is how we ensure that opportunity is not reserved for a few, but extended to many. This is how we ensure that development translates into ownership, into stability, and into generational wealth for Bahamian families.
Yes.
This is deliberate. This is strategic, and this is necessary, because this government believes that as Exuma grows, Bahamians too must grow with it. That is what progress looks like, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Not talk, not delay, but action that creates opportunities, expands ownership, and secures the future of Bahamian families across our islands. Mr. Deputy Speaker, these two matters, though different in their nature and scale, reflect a common purpose. In Pitt Road, New Providence, we are bringing order, structure, and certainty to a community that has developed over time without the benefit of formal planning. Thank you, Honourable Member of Parliament, for far challenge. In Exuma, we are taking a forward-looking approach for Charlotte. Yes, sir. We are forward-looking to ensure that growth translates into real opportunities for Bahamians to access land and housing. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is the work of responsible governance. It is the work of addressing long-standing challenges while also planning for our future. Yes. It is the work of ensuring the development is inclusive, structured, and beneficial to the Bahamian people. And of course, you heard the Honourable Member for Angleston say, Mountel is next, yes. Mountel Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, housing is fundamental to the stability of families and the strength of communities. Through these initiatives, this government continues to make practical steps to expand access to land, to regularize existing communities, and to create new opportunities for home ownership across our islands. Madam Speaker, this is the work that must continue in 2026 and beyond.
Yes.
That's right.
May God, Mr. Deputy Speaker, continue to bless this government in 2026 and beyond.
And beyond.
And may God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Yes.
Order that the communications be brought up. Order that the communications to lie on the table. Further communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
You have a communication. No further communication.
Thank you, honourable member. Communications by the clerk. Message from the Governor General. Message from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, seat, and new writs. Presentations of petitions. Presentations of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
No first reading of bills.
Thank you, honourable member. Second reading and committal of bills. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Angleston.
Don't start my clock yet now. I catching myself now. Hold on. Every minute, second counts.
Absolutely. Take your time.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker, I guess you could start now. I stand today on behalf of the incredible people of Angleston. But before I do so, I wanted to recognize some people in the gallery who are here. And I believe for the first time that I've been a minister, I have asked them to come. And I'm trying to find my list. Let me do it. We have the Permanent Secretary, Lorraine Ambrista, the Director, Mrs. Dominique McCartney-Russell, Assistant Director of Education, Leisure Burrows. We have Mrs.
Member, as you call their names, can they stand so I can see? Yeah.
Permanent Secretary, the Director, ADE Leisure Burrows, the Deputy Chairman of the Preschool Council, Mrs. Gillian Wilson, the Ms. Rodriguez, I hope I'm getting this right, coordinator at the preschool council, Mrs. Rodriguez. I believe, hold on. I'm just trying to find, yes, I know, I remember listing. Oh, sorry, I'm with it now. All righty, righty. Ellen Rodriguez. And then we have Tiffany Newman, who's a member of the board, of the commission. And then I see Mrs. Miller Neely, who's well known to us, a veteran. And Pastor Antoine St. Louis is supposed to be. Mr. Deputy, I will speak to these persons in a little bit, but I stand today to move for the second reading of 3 key legislative initiatives: the Education Bill 2026, the Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026, and the National Youth Commission Bill 2026. Each of these pieces of legislation will fundamentally impact the qualitative development of children and young people throughout our nation, and in that way, the qualitative state of our nation. Madam Speaker, I begin with the Education Bill 2026. This morning signifies a pivotal moment in the history of education in this country. This bill, once passed, will repeal the Education Act of 1962 and its various amendments over the years up to 1996. This, therefore, represents the first comprehensive review of our education policy and administrative framework in almost 65 years. Yes. The Education Bill 2026 is supremely significant, as for the first time in legislation, it explicitly affirms education as a human right, yes, free for every child. On the issue of free for every child, I want to give notice that we intend to move an amendment. Section 23 has certain language, but when you look at it and combined with clause 45, you see that it continues to give the minister a role in providing materials. However, for the avoidance of doubt, we will move legislation akin to language used in the 62 Act, which speaks about the provision of materials as resources permit. However, the ministry has been actively involved in providing and seeking to provide resources, e-books, textbooks, electronically for students, free of charge. And so this clause, as it relates to materials and texts, will become moot in a very short order. But this legislation, Mr. Deputy, raises up education to the highest pinnacle in our quest for human advance, undergirded by progressive policy and a targeted administrative regime to procure desired outcomes for the Bahamian child. Yes. This is not symbolic language. It is a legal and moral declaration that every child, regardless of background, ability, location, or circumstance, is entitled to education. Yes. By this legislation, the state bears responsibility not only for access to education, but for quality of education, equity in education, and protection of that right. Parents, too, and others in the wider community are stakeholders in this regard also, as they are legally bound to ensure that every child is accorded that human right and that that right is not interfered with. Decisions about education must always be guided by the best interests of the child. Yes. By embedding education as a right in law, this law raises up the Bahamian child, strengthens accountability, reinforces equity, and aligns our national education system with international human rights principles while grounding them firmly in Bahamian realities. This legislation modernizes the legislative framework by introducing updated definitions, strengthening governance, expanding compulsory education, formalizing national curriculum standards, adding homeschooling regulations, enhancing accountability mechanisms, and aligning educational administration with contemporary global practices. As I said, it replaces the 1962 Act, which focused primarily on foundational governance, school registration, and minimum education standards. The legislation we debate today is therefore a modern, forward-looking regime that places the learner at the center of our national education system. This bill replaces an outdated framework with legislation that reflects how children learn today, how families engage with education, how technology has transformed access to learning, how the nation must prepare young people for life, work, and citizenship in the 21st century. Above all, this bill affirms a simple but powerful principle. Every child in the Bahamas deserves a quality education, regardless of where or how that education is delivered. One of the most transformative features of this bill is its clear focus on learning outcomes, mandating grade-level measurement. The Education Bill 2026 establishes that education in the Bahamas is no longer defined merely by seat time, attendance, physical location. Instead, it is defined by what students are expected to know, understand, and be able to do at each stage of their education. These learning outcomes apply across public schools, independent schools, home education, and virtual learning. They will guide curriculum development, assessment, and reporting, provide parents with clarity and confidence about their child's progress. This approach ensures consistency, quality, and accountability, while still allowing flexibility in how learning is delivered. Madam Speaker, this is how we ensure that no child falls through the cracks, regardless of their circumstance. Additionally, this bill provides for compulsory pre-primary education, starting right from the start. Another critical component of this bill is that it formally establishes pre-primary education as a compulsory stage of schooling in the Bahamas. 4-year-olds are now included for compulsory school attendance. The compulsory age, therefore, is now 4 years old. This provision recognizes what educators, parents, and researchers have long known. The early years are critical. Learning gaps formed early are difficult to reverse. Early investment delivers lifelong benefits. By making pre-primary education compulsory, this bill confirms that early childhood education is not optional. It ensures that all children enter primary school with foundational skills in language, early numeracy, social development, learning readiness. The bill also strengthens oversight and standards in pre-primary institutions, protecting both children and families. Madam Speaker, Mr. Deputy, this is a decisive step toward greater equity in our education system. I am confident that this important step, greater equity in the education system, pre-primary education, I am confident that this important step will in the future be seen to be a key strategy in enhanced learning outcomes and the advancement of education and student well-being in the Bahamas' long-term fundamental effect. The bill also provides for homeschooling. It provides clear rules, shared responsibility. The bill provides a clear legal framework for homeschooling in the Bahamas, found in clauses 53 to 58. It recognizes the right of parents to educate their children at home, while also affirming the state's responsibility to ensure children are safe, children are learning, children are progressing in line with national expectations. Under this bill, homeschooling is formally recognized in law. First time. Parents are required to register and meet minimum educational standards. Learning must align with national learning outcomes. This framework protects children's right to education, supports parents through clarity rather than uncertainty, brings home education into the national education family. This is about partnership, not punishment, and about ensuring every child's education counts. The bill in clauses 32 to 34 mandates assignment of technical personnel to have specific responsibility for the development and implementation of a national curriculum for pre-primary, primary, and secondary stages of education, and its review, revision, and implementation. This is yet another critical feature of this bill. The framing of the curriculum should take into account the objectives of education, the concept of lifelong learning, the requirements of the labor market, the demand for national, regional, and international development, developments in science, social sciences, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics, and national unity, values, and human rights, and the dynamics of global and sustainable development. The contents of the national, or the standards of the national curriculum are set out in Clause 34. It shall include core subjects, including mathematics and English language, such other concepts including climate resiliency and sustainability, eco-safe education, plurality of literacies, character education, and human rights education, technical and vocational education, and such other subjects as the minister may direct in writing. The bill provides for consistent monitoring and evaluation of the national curriculum and for compliance with and implementation of the national curriculum. In the case of a private school or a parent practitioner in homeschooling, they shall not be obligated to comply with and implement that curriculum, but at a minimum shall ensure compliance with the standards set out in the national curriculum as developed by the ministry. The bill provides for virtual learning, education beyond the classroom walls. It formally recognizes virtual and online learning as legitimate modes of education delivery in a 21st century reality, Clause 36. This provision reflects lessons learned during national and global disruptions, the realities of family island geography, the growing role of technology in modern education, and virtual learning under this bill is subject to oversight and quality assurance. It must meet the same learning outcomes as face-to-face instruction. It expands access for students who require flexibility or alternative pathways. Importantly, the bill makes clear that virtual learning is not inferior, it is not unregulated, and it must serve the best interests of the learner. This positions the Bahamas to build a more resilient, inclusive, and future-ready education system. Yes. Special needs, Clause 37 to 39. The bill addresses specifically students with special needs. By Clause 37, the minister shall cause, where it is suspected or alleged that any child of compulsory school age is suffering from a disability or an impairment of mind or body of such a nature or to such an extent as to make him incapable of receiving education at school, a written notice is to be served upon the parent of that child to require the parent to submit the child for examination. Mr. Deputy, we have many children who are at home now because of varying disabilities who are out of the net of education and under the radar. This will allow the ministry to partner with parents to bring that child back into the light. The order will also specify the date, time, and place of the examination, and the parent shall be entitled to present at the examination if he so desires. Clause 38 requires a register, and we're doing this already, but it requires a register to be kept of children with special needs. This is designed to ensure that the needs of these children are kept front and center, and the early identification of special needs students through the testing of students, whether at the instance of the minister or the parent. Clause 39 provides for instruction specifically designed for special needs children. The bill also provides for modification of criteria for graduation for the high school diploma for special needs children who can now acquire a high school diploma. There's a clause in the bill which speaks to where the minister is not able, or the ministry, to accommodate a student due to certain varying factors that are referred to in the bill. What we have found, Mr. Deputy, is that some, and not most, but some special needs children are not easily managed in a classroom environment. Some are physically aggressive and other issues. We are now looking at a special program for children who fit this description, who are able now to come into the system where we will be able to equip our instruction specialists, our teachers, to be able to manage children who fit this category so that they too can come into the light. Clause 39 provides, the bill through Clause 49 addresses standards for teaching, professional development, ethics, school operations, and equity. Private schools are governed by provision in Clauses 50 and 51, which confirm broad private schools' control over stages of instruction, religion, staffing, student matters. Discipline and internal administration are all subject to the Act. accreditation. For quality assurance in the delivery of education and in pursuit of adherence to national goals, all schools must be accredited and registered by NACOB in accordance with the provisions of clauses 14 and 15. School boards are governed by clauses 17, 18, 19, and 20, which governs the role of school boards and provide for, inter alia, the obligation for funds held to follow the Public Finance Management Act. This is new. And for audits by a licensed public accountant for greater transparency and accountability. The law also provides for the minister to be subject to the same rules. Compulsory attendance is bolstered by Clause 25, which places a legal duty on every parent to ensure their child attends school. And the bill provides that knowingly failing to secure regular attendance is an offense. Clause 27. This does not apply, however, in the case of illness or unavoidable cause, etc., which is set out in Clause 28. This is described as excused absence. But in ensuring attendance, which is a primary goal, we must bring children into the net of education. The minister may issue an attendance order for which non-compliance is an offense. The powers of attendance officers and the duty of the principal to report truancy are contained in clauses 30 to 31. The bill anticipates the span of education in 4 stages of a student's life, as set out in clause 6.1. The 4 stages of the education system are pre-primary education, where the child has attained the age of 4 years, but has not attained the age of 5. Primary education, suitable to the requirements of a learner who has attained the age of 5 years, but has not attained the age of 11 years. Secondary education, suitable to the requirements of a learner who has attained the age of 11 years, but has not attained the age of 18 years. And post-secondary and tertiary education, suitable to the requirements of a learner who has attained the age of 18 years. The minister may, in addition to these 4 stages of the education system specified, provide as a part of the education system, as I've referred to, special education, adult education, education and training in cooperation or association with a penal institution or rehabilitation center, and any other category of education that the minister considers necessary. Clause 8 establishes the duties of the minister, who has the duty to ensure the availability of schools to provide for all stages of education, inclusive of special and alternative education to all learners of compulsory age. The minister has responsibility for the superintendent's direction, control, and maintenance of all public schools. The minister has responsibility for the general oversight of all private schools and any institute of further education. The minister has responsibility for the recruitment, training, and professional development of teachers and their conditions of service in public schools. The minister must cause the adequate resources to be allocated for instructional and administrative requirements in the delivery of education in the public schools. The minister must ensure that the system of education is designed to provide a learner with adequate expression and opportunity for development. In discharging his duties or hers, under this section, the minister shall have regard to the need for ensuring that provision is made for all learners, and particularly for learners who require special education. The technology needed to promote learning, including software, hardware, training, security, and safety protocols. The powers are set out in Clause 9, which I will not go through there for all to see. Clauses 10 to 11 provide for the continuation of the Department of Education and the responsibilities of the director. Clause 46 provides for free transport. Now, I heard some talks somewhere about they're going to introduce free transport. Just for the edification of those who don't know, free transport has been available for quite a while. In fact, free transport, busing of students is now in place as we speak this morning. Throughout New Providence, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, Exuma, Andros, Acklet, Crooked Island, San Salvador, Cat Island, wherever, currently available.
They make that seem new.
However, the ministry is looking and the Minister of Transport is here, and we have spoken about a universal busing, not a phased one. Yep, we already have a busing system. I thought you all knew. I've been reminded by a former Minister of Education, he said for decades. Thank you.
Regurgitate and make it seem like you're on page 17.
The bill requires, the bill requires an annual report to be laid for public schools, Clause 71. And the principal of every school is obligated to prepare and forward to the ministry by the 1st of March in each year a report of the previous school year, detailing generally the overall activities of the school. And in particular, the principal must state the learners' attainments and achievements, school revenue and expenditure, staff and student attendance, school assets, and any donations received by the school for the benefit of learners or teachers. And the minister has the obligation to compile an annual report of the previous school year using all of these materials that come to the minister, not later than the 30th day of June in any year, and cause a copy of every such report to be laid on the table of both houses of Parliament. This provides for greater accountability in the administration of education instruction and emphasizes the collective vested interest we all share in the education of our children and young people. All in all, this legislation signals a new day in the qualitative delivery of education and in the preparation of young people for our nation's future. Madam Speaker, the words of Nelson Mandela are often repeated when he said in 2003, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This oft-repeated adage may run the risk of becoming cliche, but truer words were never spoken. The process of education is the forum for the stimulus and positive development of the mind, body, and spirit of children and young people in their formative years of development before they are ultimately unleashed into the world. How those children and young people are grounded and prepared will determine the course and quality of their individual lives, but it will also determine the course and quality of our national development and our impact and positioning in the world.
Yes.
The process of review in this bill began more than 10 years ago by the then Minister of Education, Jerome Fitzgerald, and was later resumed by then Minister Jeffrey Lloyd, and brought to this House, finally, by this minister. I wish to acknowledge the work of these previous ministers in helping us to come to this day. But in truth, this mammoth undertaking is the primary work of the ministry's technocrats and the input of NGOs, unions, the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the National Advisory Council on Education, the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council on Education, NACOR, and many other education stakeholders in New Providence and across the archipelago. I wish to thank the Education Act Review Committee, which was first led by the late Dr. Karen Singh-Sir, continued under Dr. Lisa Fitzcharles, and most recently under Mrs. Charmaine Sinclair, with the past and current team members comprising Dr. Willard Barr, Mrs. Michelle Sayers, Ms. Pauline Adley, Ms. Sharon Clark, Mrs. Leisha Burrows, Mrs. Ellen Rodriguez, Ms. Patrice Green, Mrs. Demetra Roll, and Ms. Pearline Baker. Included in this are the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Lorraine Ambrister, and former Director of Education, Dr. Marcellus Taylor, and the current Director of Education, Mrs. Dominique McCartney-Russell. I wish to also recognize the work of my colleague, Ryan Pinder, Attorney General, and his office, and the Commissioner Tina Roy of the Law Reform and Revision Commission. Most importantly, this undertaking was projected in the speech from the throne when we took office in 2021, when then Governor General Sir C.A. Smith declared the new government's strong reaffirmation, and I quote, that universal and equitable access to quality education is key to national development and to the fulfillment of each person's potentiality, and that my government will amend the Education Act to provide for universal pre-primary education for 3- and 4-year-olds. We started at 4 for pragmatic reasons, but in time, I'm sure it will go to 3. To consolidate the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas and the Preschool and Daycare Council, and specify homeschooling modalities. This morning, Deputy Speaker, therefore represents the substantial fulfillment of our promise to the Bahamian people. Mr. Deputy, I now move to the Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026. The Early Childhood Care Commission Bill, now referred to as the bill, represents a significant advancement for early childhood care and education in the Bahamas. The early years of a child's life represent, and I've spoken to this, the most critical period of learning. Research studies indicate that 80 to 90% of brain development occurs before the age of 5. High-quality early childhood education, therefore, plays a vital role in supporting this key developmental stage. When children have access to structured, nurturing, and stimulating early learning environments, they experience significant benefits. These include improved literacy and numeracy skills, better social behavior, and greater readiness for formal schools. Further, children who participate in quality early childhood programs are more likely to achieve long-term academic success. From an economic perspective, investments made during the early years yield the highest return in the entire education system, as early learning reduces later costs associated with remediation and other interventions and playing catch-up. Deputy Speaker, despite the significance of early childhood development, several challenges impede the progress of early childhood services in the Bahamas. Primarily, the absence of a centralized authority dedicated exclusively to early childhood development presents a notable issue. The lack of a unified oversight body results in considerable disparities in the quality of daycare centers and preschools in the country, and this is a serious matter. Furthermore, caregivers and educators may possess varying levels of training and qualifications, which can adversely affect the standard of care and instruction provided to children under 5. Additionally, there are limitations in the monitoring and regulation of early learning facilities, and a deficiency in comprehensive national data impedes the assessment of early childhood outcomes and the formulation of informed policy decisions. Mr. Deputy, establishing an early childhood commission will effectively address many of these challenges. The commission will serve as the national governing body responsible for overseeing early childhood development from birth to age 5. Its responsibilities would include setting clear national standards for early childhood care and education, and coordinating services among key government agencies, including the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, Social Services, and Community Organizations. Mr. Deputy, the Early Childhood Care Commission will offer substantial advantages for children throughout the Bahamas. This can be such a big difference in this country, Mr. Deputy. Through efficient oversight and coordination, children will be provided with access to secure, nurturing, and developmentally suitable learning environments. Early screening initiatives, and this is important, will facilitate the early identification of developmental delays or learning challenges, enabling children to receive prompt support and intervention. And all of the research shows the earlier that is, the better the prospects for that child. Most notably, young learners will establish strong foundations in language development, social and emotional skills, as well as early literacy and numeracy, competencies essential for success in education and social settings. Also, parents and families will benefit significantly from a more structured and regulated early childhood system, establishing clear national standards which will enable parents to have increased confidence in the quality of daycare and preschool services available for their children. Parent education programs could deliver valuable information regarding child development and early learning, thereby assisting families in supporting their children's growth at home. Moreover, an enhanced childhood system will offer essential support to working families who rely on dependable early childhood services. Peace of mind. Additionally, the broader education system is likely to benefit from positive outcomes. Children who receive early childhood education tend to enter primary school. We know this, we have the data, well prepared to learn, thereby decreasing the necessity for remedial education in subsequent years. I believe that also, many of them go to university. There is a correlation. This preparedness diminishes learning disparities and enables educators to concentrate on progressing the curriculum rather than rectifying fundamental deficiencies. Furthermore, early childhood educators will gain significant professional benefits, clear professional standards, and certification pathways that will help to define the qualifications needed for the role. Teachers and caregivers will have continued access to ongoing training and professional development opportunities, which will improve the quality of early learning programs. Moreover, investing in early childhood development has significant economic and national development implications. Research indicates that each dollar invested in early childhood education can generate substantial long-term economic benefits. These benefits include higher educational achievement, improved workforce productivity, lower crime rates, lower social services costs. By strengthening early childhood systems, we can nurture future nation builders. This bill represents groundbreaking legislation designed to enhance the governance, regulation, and management of early childhood care and education in the Bahamas. While it repeals the Early Childhood Care Act of 2004, it retains and modernizes most of its provisions and introduces significant reforms to ensure the highest standards of care and education for children from birth to 5 years old. This bill establishes the Early Childhood Care Commission to oversee the management of daycare centers and preschools, ensuring compliance with the national standards. Additionally, the Commission will focus on promoting early childhood care and education, developing curricula for children from birth to 4 years, and advising the Minister on policies related to early childhood development. The governance structure of the Commission is strengthened by the establishment of the Childhood Care Commission Board. This board supersedes the previous Pre-Council and Daycare Center Council and comprises 13 members, including representatives from key sectors such as education, physical planning, public health, environmental health, social services, and other stakeholders. The board will play a critical role in registering and regulating daycare centers and ensuring that the professional conduct of operators and their employees. The inclusion of diverse stakeholders ensures that the board is well equipped to address the multifaceted needs of early childhood care and education. To ensure effective policy implementation, this bill establishes the role of an executive officer responsible for overseeing the daily administration and management of the Commission. The executive officer will be responsible, among other duties, for executing and enforcing policies and directives issued by the board and reporting to the board quarterly, advising the board on strategic, regulatory, and operational matters, and 3, supervising the Commission staff. This bill also makes provision for the transfer of public officers from the Ministry of Education to the Commission, with arrangements for permanent employment and pension benefits, no loss of entitlement or benefits, ensuring smooth transition and operational continuity. A key focus of this bill is the registration of daycare centers and preschools. This provision was retained and modernized from the Early Childhood Care Act 2004. All daycare centers and preschools are required to be registered with the board to operate legally. And we will work with this process, Mr. Deputy. Such registration must be renewed annually. Additionally, this bill delineates penalties for operating without proper registration. It is noteworthy that the penalties stipulated in this legislation are consistent with those outlined in the Act of 2004. Regarding enforcement, this bill updates the provisions concerning the appointment of inspectors and their responsibilities. Inspectors will be appointed by the minister after consulting with the board. These inspectors will investigate complaints, carry out annual inspections, and ensure compliance with safety, health, and educational standards. Staff members at daycare centers and preschools must cooperate with inspectors, and penalties will be imposed for obstruction or non-compliance. Such enforcement measures are essential for maintaining high standards of care and protecting the safety and well-being of children. The bill also updates the provision that grants authority to the minister to address situations where daycare centers or preschools pose threats to public health, public safety, or interests. The minister is empowered to suspend the operation of these facilities and to issue subsidiary legislation to ensure their effective management. These provisions enable the government to act swiftly in the best interests of children and the public. And we have seen what we have seen in the last years. To facilitate a smooth transition from the previous Early Childhood Care Act and Council to the newly established Commission and Board, this bill includes transitional provisions. Existing daycare centers or preschools will have a 3-month period to submit applications for registration under the new act, and we will work with these centers. Additionally, all assets, rights, and liabilities of the former council will be transferred to the new board. Furthermore, members of the council will become members of the board. These measures ensure continuity and minimize disruption during the transition. Madam Speaker, Mr. Deputy, the Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026 marks significant progress in safeguarding and fostering children's welfare and education in the Bahamas. It emphasizes early childhood development, encourages community development, involvement, and guarantees accountability through inspections, registration, training, and enforcement. This bill is a vital investment in the nation's future. Establishing an Early Childhood Care Commission in the Bahamas is not simply an educational reform. It is an investment in the future of our children, our families, and our nation. I now move for the second reading of the National Youth Commission Bill 2026. The National Youth Commission will be the driver of youth programs and services across the Bahamas in accordance with the National Youth Policy, which was approved by the government in late 2025. The Commission will be a modern and responsive agency that will coordinate and monitor youth development programs alongside other governmental and non-governmental agencies. The Commission will be responsible for conducting research and investigating the most challenging issues affecting youth and implementing programs and initiatives to address these challenges. This Commission will also have a resource mobilization department that will attract investment and grant funding to support youth development in the Bahamas. The Commission will also introduce a framework for regulating youth organizations, groups, and clubs by requiring them to be registered with the Commission. This will allow the Commission to determine whether programs are safe and wholesome for young people. Additionally, the bill will establish the profession of the youth worker by setting the requirement for an individual to be registered as a youth worker in the Bahamas. This will enable the Commission to ensure that trained and qualified persons are working with young people and enable the Commission to hold youth workers accountable when they do not act in the best interests of young people. The member for Garden Hills will explain in greater detail the provisions of this very, very important legislation. Mr. Deputy, we seek to deepen the consciousness of our young people and build human capital as the most powerful national resource.
Yes.
We have, with great intentionality, sought to ensure that each child and young person is functionally literate and capable of critical thought. We made it possible for every primary school and all-age school student in every public school throughout this nation to access, free of charge, a hot breakfast before they begin their day. We did not come to spin wheels or give pretense of eloquence or engage in chronic political scorn. We have come to look with honest eyes at ourselves and our people. Yes. And we know that we have a very long way to go.
Yes.
But progress is being made. It is because of this fact that some are so visibly and audibly hot and bothered. They are obliged, despite their talk, to preserve, despite the talk now, their obligation is to preserve the structures of an old order to persist and prevail. Their role is as cosmetologists. They want to put lipstick on a pig. But the Bahamian people will never accept that. They want more, not less. And in this, we still have a long way to go.
Yes.
In education, we have been pulling our young people out of legacy issues, whether created by COVID or historic deficits. We've been working on all cylinders to ensure our children are literate, articulate, able to think critically, to stand confident and strong. Yes. We placed a premium on student attendance. We walked into communities. We knocked on doors. We brought children back into the classroom. We created a national hotline, deployed attendance monitors, engaged parents through the new parent engagement unit and the parent portal. We have now attained an attendance rate of 94% across all schools. The education bill will further arm us to find that 6% and bring them into the light. Report card collection increased to 85%, which suggests increased parental engagement. We tested all students post-COVID and devised strategies to meet them where they were and support student recovery. We've undertaken, I heard something about modernizing the curriculum. You got to read, man. We have undertaken 23 curriculum reform efforts now underway to modernize the national curriculum, and the bill deals with the national curriculum.
We did that already too.
Yes, we did already, to ensure relevance, rigor, and alignment with global competencies, including the first revision of the history curriculum since 1982, almost half a century ago, and the publication of the first Bahamian history text towards a common, loftier goal.
Yes.
We have been capitalizing on the intrinsic creative gifts of our young people. We completed the first performing arts curriculum for primary school, now completed, with the high school curriculum now underway. We launched the first ever tertiary institute for the performing arts, national, in the creation of CAPAs. We've deepened the Bahamas High School Diploma community service component to now include leadership and discipline strands. We've expanded TVET programs and diversified academic pathways through TVET certifications. Our Polytechnic School, BPAC, is on train to enhance applied and micro-learning preparing young people for real-time certification and job readiness in an evolving economy. The physical education curriculum has been revised to now include swimming, out of a commitment that every child should learn to swim in this country. Yes. Swimming pools are being constructed or designated for at least 4 public schools. Work is underway for a more structured, and I want to recognize Let's Swim Bahamas, which is carrying a program that is so powerful.
Yes.
Work is underway for a more structured sporting program in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture to develop sporting skills in all of the disciplines for our emerging athletes. And we have been in fruitful discussions with the BAISS, the independent schools, to allow going forward for a stronger interaction in sporting competition between public and private schools.
Yes. Yes.
And just last week, we joined with the Bahamas Football Association, Garden Hills was there, and FIFA for the commissioning of 2 beautiful mini soccer pitches constructed at Columbus Primary and Garvin Tynes Primary Schools. We've expanded access for all students through the hiring of more than 40 special education teachers, thus providing greater educational services to more students across the nation. We need to do more, but we are working. We've implemented a national screening program to assess and identify students and provide remediation, eliminate waiting lists. We co-partnered in a special education master's cohort in partnership with Barry University with 13 public school teachers having completed their master's degree and giving instruction throughout the nation, including the islands. We've identified more classroom spaces to support more special education students. We've sought to support teachers and guidance counselors through capacity building and professional development grants, never before seen. They can go online and apply for a grant for a program. We implemented at the beginning of each school year a $250 grant to assist teachers in their classroom preparation. We launched a professional development platform to provide on-demand, evidence-based learning and instructional innovations. We implemented a 3-tiered staff digital literacy strategy, and we formally recognized professional excellence of teachers and guidance counselors in a national awards ceremony. We appointed academic success coaches, introduced digital instructional self-paced program, expanded student enrichment programs for students with low GPAs and deemed at risk academically. A number of these students, and these statistics are quite amazing, a number of these students are now receiving at least a 2.0 GPA, an increase of 7.3% when compared to the previous year. There is also an upward trend showing 16.3% of those academically at risk receiving, these were at 1.0 now, they are now receiving a 3.0 GPA. That amounts to 1,812 students, compared to 14.1% in 2024. The success rate is attributed to the creative and dedicated efforts of the academic success coaches and the digital instructional program, Success Maker, our online adaptive learning system. We introduced discipline practices to include restorative approaches that foster pro-social behaviors and emphasize personal accountability and conflict resolution. 9 of the 10 districts in this country in education saw improvement in GPAs in December 2025 as compared to December 2024. The program's gains show an encouraging upward trend, demonstrating that targeted interventions, strategic use of instructional technology, and committed personnel have significantly advanced student success for our students with greatest needs. BJC results showed measurable improvements in art, literature, craft, social studies, family and consumer science, English language, technical drawing, health science. BGC improvements of 90% or higher were seen in art and design, auto mechanics, carpentry and joinery, food and nutrition, geography, literature, and music, reflecting exceptional levels of mastery. English language, chemistry, French, history, physics, religious studies, and graphical communications had cumulative achievement rates of 80 to 89%. We know we have a lot of work to do in this. We saw challenges in mathematics, but we've conducted research and we're now implementing strategies for mathematics. But we're seeing some amazing things happening with these students. GLAD 3 and 6 saw significant increases in reading and listening comprehension. Grade 6 saw the best GPA in 10 years. Science and social studies saw significant improvements. And again, we saw mathematics a challenge here also, not in grade 6, I don't think, but in grade 3. So we have a lot of work to do. We've worked, last year's graduation rate increased to 59%, the highest ever. We have worked for a reduction in school violence. Incidents have decreased by 46%, from 142 in the fall of 2022. Remember, school opened in January of 2022, to 77 in the fall of 25. This decrease is significant and has nearly cut overall incidents in half. There's been a notable decrease in fights by 74%, stabbings by 100%, and unlawfully carrying arms by 41%. Decreases have also been recorded in New Providence by 30%, Grand Bahama by 73%, and the Family Islands by 81%. We have more work to do, but we're making progress, Mr. Deputy. At Program Shore, the instructional program has been redesigned to a more therapeutic approach with the assignment of a psychologist focused on literacy and numeracy, and a curriculum focused on TVET, and students are assigned there for at least a year, not the rotational thing. We've been reviewing architectural plans for a boarding component at that school to allow boys to be in residence while they attend that school, thus mitigating negative external factors which have destabilized many of our boys. And for TAPS, the girls, we are searching for a new, more appropriate home for the girls in TAPS. The ministry has reached a landmark development phase in the creation of a policy for artificial intelligence in education. Now, this one, it's a draft, so I can't share it, but just so you know, it's real.
Yes.
It's real.
Yes. For the future.
It is in anticipation of this digital revolution and the need for the Bahamian child to be adept that the ministry completed this policy now in draft form. The AI in education policy sets clear student-focused goals that emphasize both empowerment and responsibility. Students are expected to develop AI literacy, gaining foundational knowledge of concepts, ethics, and applications so they can thrive in a digital economy. They will engage with AI tools in ways that are curious, ethical, and responsible, learning to critically evaluate technology while preserving academic integrity. The policy envisions students not only as users of AI, but also as active contributors to innovation, participating in hands-on projects, coding clubs, and national competitions. Yes. Ultimately, the goal is to prepare every learner, regardless of island or income, to navigate and shape an AI-augmented future with confidence, creativity, and integrity. So in summary, the 5 key student-focused goals drawn from our AI education policy is 1, to develop AI literacy, 2, to promote responsible use, 3, to enhance learning experiences, including students with disabilities, and to foster innovation and creativity, 4, and 5, to ensure equity of access. Mr. Deputy, before I said I wanted to speak about chess. In January of 2024, the ministry quietly initiated a pilot program commencing January 24, 2024 at Cat Island with 54 participants. The participants to date have been in Rumkey, Mayaguana, Long Island, Berry Islands, and New Providence. In September to December 2025, Grand Bahama, Inagua, Ragged Island, Acklands, Crooked Island, Exuma, Andros, Eleuthera, Abaco, and Bimini are also, I'm trying to see what they're saying here, but these are areas that are next to be targeted for us, or have been targeted, but I don't think they got to Ragged Island and Acklands yet. That's the case. They've not been able to get to those places yet. So it is anticipated that the pilot completion will be December 2025. And post the pilot, we will have the Battle of the Islands chess tournament at Nassau. The game of chess is a game that has been credited with offering a holistic platform for personal development, intellectual stimulation and advancement, cultural exchange, social interaction, and the development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills. And we have been moving throughout the country to what may be described the most remote of places to offer teaching and learning of chess. Mr. Deputy, I'm down to my last 5 minutes. I don't think I'll need all of that. We are in the season of promises. But as the old people say, talk is cheap, but money buy land. That side, no disrespect, you have no amazing track record, but you got so much things to say. Anyone that Bob Marley song? They got so much things to say right now. They got so much things to say. They have so much things to say. They are experts on everything, but doers of little. They are arch critics of everything. Everything. We are on, Mr. Deputy, a momentum of progress. Today is a big day in the harvesting of the great potentiality of our incredible young people. Do not mistake. We know we have plenty to do. We know one kid saying be so good, be great. We know we have a lot to do. We know our people have high expectations. I love that. But we must have the courage of conviction to fundamentally take our people forward. And we will not be distracted by the noise in the market, the political, noisy marketplace. The noisemakers. Mr. Deputy, on behalf of the great people of Angleton, it is my honor to move. I thank them all the time, especially the ones in Key West Street, because they're very popular over there. The move, this is here. I now move for the second reading of the Education Bill 2026, the Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026, and the National Youth Commission Bill of 2026. Mr. Deputy, we have a long way to go, but I can tell you we are moving in the right direction for transformational change in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Is there a seconder? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Garden Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, after the contribution by Angleton, I feel like I should just stand up here and say, let the church say, amen. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it's always an honor of mine to stand here to represent the great people and resilient people of the constituency of Garden Hills. But before I commence my contribution, I would like to recognize those technocrats whose shoulders I stand on to ensure we get to this point to debate this compendium of bills, especially the bill of the Youth Commission that governs the youth policy in this country. And so the Youth Department, led by our youth leader, Sandina Neely, would you please stand, along with some youth stakeholders within the country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is these individuals here before us today that ensured that the necessary work was put in for us to get to this point, to bring to something in this country we had not had in over 52 years, which is a youth policy. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, today is a historic day, and I rise to second the compendium of bills now before this honorable House. The Early Childhood Care Commission Bill, the Education Bill, and the National Youth Commission Bill. Mr. Deputy Speaker, yet again, this Davis administration is delivering on promises and progress. We are doing things that have not been done before, exploring uncharted waters to take the Bahamas to new heights. This is not a political propaganda. This is progress. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we begin debate on the National Youth Commission Bill, it is only fitting that we reflect on what we faced when we entered into office in 2021. In 2021, when we entered office, there were stagnant programs. Young people were missing out on big opportunities. Youth development was flat, and people in youth sector had lost steam. Mr. Deputy Speaker, they talk about Garden Hills and this administration, but that's it all, just talks. We have challenged the status quo at every turn and pushed the limit. Do not mind the noise in the market, because we know that empty barrels makes the most noise. Look at our record on youth. This is by far the most new youth programs under any administration. Check the records. A new sitting youth parliament, where youths sit in parliament for a period of 2 years, and the Senate. Upscales Bahamas, Opportunity Hub, National Apprenticeship Program, and National Youth Guard. That's just to name a few. We have delivered on our blueprint for change, and we will continue to build on progress. Mr. Deputy Speaker, for decades, young people and youth workers have waited on a national youth policy. They have waited for a transformation of the youth sector and for an environment where they can be given more opportunities. We came close before, under the former Minister of Danny Johnson, but yet before it came the stop and review government, who stopped and reviewed and stagnated progress. But now we're back in the chair. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there are some of us who had the opportunity as Minister of Youth and have no record to stand on. But this minister and this government can stand alongside the Bahamian people and be proud of the progress we have made and will continue to make. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we had international obligations to implement a national youth policy, and the previous government did nothing. When we took office in 2021, I made it my mission and the mission of the Youth Division to complete the national youth policy. In late 2025, we delivered on our international obligations and delivered more for the young people of the Bahamas. When we completed the National Youth Policy 2025-35, which, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will lay a copy on the table later, less than 6 months later, we are here delivering legislation that will make the policy a reality for all stakeholders in the youth sector. Mr. Deputy Speaker, today is a big day for the youth and the youth stakeholders as we debate in support of the National Youth Commission Bill. The bill will establish a commission under the leadership of a National Youth Commissioner to oversee the implementation and coordination of programs and initiatives aligned with the National Youth Policy. It will establish a new and modern agency of government that will be more responsive and flexible in its approach to the needs of Bahamian youths. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Sections 1 through 5 of the bill establish the Commission, its board, and the duties and functions of the Commission. The National Youth Commission will implement policies, programs, and projects consistent with the National Youth Policy in an effort to empower youth to develop their potential and to contribute to national development. While we modernize and transform our energy sector, our workforce, our infrastructure, and other areas of society, we are also modernizing youth services and the youth development landscape. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Section 6 through 10 speaks to the staff of the Commission and the various departments and offices. The Commission will be led by National Youth Commissioner and a Deputy Commissioner, who both will be persons that are qualified and have extensive knowledge and experience in matters relating to youth, while the organization will be led by those two offices. The Commission will also consist of a Department of Programs and Youth Empowerment, Human Resources, Finance, Research and Planning, and Communications. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am particularly proud of the Department of Research and Planning, as this will ensure that we design and implement programs that are data-driven and fully meets the needs of young people. We will not be recycling programs. Rather, we will remain on the cutting edge and adapt as needed. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Part 5 speaks to the financial provisions of the Commission. I want to say from the onset that this Commission will not, and I repeat, will not be another burden on the public purse. We have made all efforts to ensure that this agency is as efficient as possible. This is why we have included resources mobilization and function of the Finance Department. This department will be charged with carrying out revenue-generating activities and tapping into billions of dollars available within local and international markets for youth development work. Never before have such agencies existed. With the Commission, we will now be able to access funding and bring more resources home for Bahamian youth. And in most instances, Mr. Deputy Speaker, these are grant funding opportunities. This is how we secure more investments for Bahamian youths. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am most proud of Part 6 and 7 of the bill, as they seek to establish legislative framework that governs the registration of youth organizations and for the first time establish the profession of youth worker in the Bahamas. Through these provisions, we are closing a major gap that strengthens the protections for children and youth. It also delivers on the Commonwealth mandate for the professionalization of youth work. Mr. Deputy Speaker, youth organization must be a safe space and place for young people to grow and thrive. They must be safe space that protect the physical, mental, and social health of youth. The programs offered must be wholesome, aligned with national youth policy, and in accordance with acceptable standards. At all times, youth organization must be seen to be operating in the best interests of young people. When organizations fail to operate in the best interests of young people, the Commission will hold them accountable. We are already drafting programs such as the Marked Safe program that will give youth organization the recognition, the recognizable seal that will let the public know that this youth program is safe for their child to participate. That means not any youth organization could come about and the parents can know that they can have their children in these organizations. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the license for youth workers legally established and identifies who is a youth worker. It sets out the minimum requirements to become a professional youth worker in the Bahamas. I have said it before, that it is just as dangerous for an untrained person to work with children and young people as it is for an untrained doctor to perform a surgery. In both examples, it can be life-threatening. When you are not trained or identifying and responded to the challenges that young people face, you can do more harm than good. We must know if someone is operating a youth club or organization, and we must ensure that they meet today's standards for meaningful engagement of youth. Under this bill, a person will not be able to offer professional service to young people without obtaining a license. Again, when youth workers fail to protect young people or do not act in their best interests, they must be held accountable. Mr. Deputy Speaker, these compendium of bills are all aimed at doing more for the future of this country, our youth. This is not a lip service. This is action. With the National Youth Commission Bill and the Early Childhood Care Commission, we are creating a modern, progressive environment for our children and young people to develop into their full potential. The Early Childhood Care Commission will regulate daycare centers and preschools to ensure that they are operating up to standard. Early childhood are the most critical years for children's development. Parents and guardians must be confident that if their doors of daycares are open, then they are operating in the manner that promotes their child's development. It will ensure that teachers and persons working in daycares and preschools meet the established standards. Mr. Deputy Speaker, also included in this compendium of bills is the Education Bill. A comprehensive look at education in this country is finally here. This is not changes at the margins. This is full, in-depth, and deeply rooted change. This education bill will transform how we deliver education in the Bahamas and take us into a new era in education. We have already modernized with the introduction of the Creative or Performing Arts Schools and the Polytechnic Accreditation and Training Hub. With a new Education Act, we will continue to make new opportunities available so that every child can succeed in their own way and no one is left behind. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is what progress looks like. The Bahamian people can see and feel the progress. Those who had a chance to do something while in office did nothing, but yet they seem to become a chronic complainer. But our record of progress is clear. And today, we take it even higher, delivering on promises and progress. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Garden Hill supports these compendium of bills as we continue to move forward on progress. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to modernize, amend, and consolidate the law relating to education system in the Bahamas. As many, the chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I rise on behalf of the great people of St. Barnabas. St. Barnabas, namely the residents of Coconut Grove, Black Village, Big Pond, Rock Crusher, and the Oaksfield community, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy, firstly, let me thank Almighty God for allowing me to be here on another beautiful day in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as I continue to contend the greatest nation in the world. And as I always say, because we are an incubator of purpose and talent in our country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, would like to recognize everybody in the gallery this morning for your efforts and your service to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and the further development of our country. And as much as we, on the political front lines, like to make ourselves feel good about what we are doing, it is truly the work that you do every single day on behalf of our country that allows our country to progress and to prosper in the way that history will truly be kind to all of your efforts and what you continue to do on our behalf, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, you can tell that elections are near. You can tell that elections are near because when you hear certain things from the members opposite, you are reminded that, as the member for Angleston said, she talked about promises. Promises, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But not only do the promises come, as she articulated, the fact is that there have been promises that have been made to the Bahamian people, and ultimately the Bahamian people will decide very shortly where this government has failed them on so many issues affecting the people of this country. Because we know that governments get arrogant and they convey and articulate a view of what they believe they have done for the people. But the Bahamian people have a view that is manifested in their daily lives of what really exists, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this debate today on these compendium of bills are fundamentally important to the future of our country and the development of our nation, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And the reality of it is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we talk about the education of our people, you cannot, Mr. Deputy, ignore all of the other avenues and intersections that affect the ability for us to educate our people, the ability for us to make sure that the environment, both academically, infrastructurally, and in all aspects is conducive for proper educational growth, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we talk about education, and we talk about how much it should be a priority, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we all can agree on, we can't help and think about some of the decisions the government has made relative to fiscal decisions that naturally impact all aspects of government. So as we talk about education reform, and the member for Angleston did mention at the end of her contribution all of the past ministers of education, including Minister Jeff Lloyd, who was a part of our administration, who would help to ensure that this day would come to fruition, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But there is no doubt, as we talk about education in our country, the Bahamian people can't help but think about the fact that the government has not prioritized, in their view, many of the aspects of the development of education in the country in terms of resources. This is a government who has spent $280 million on consultants. $280 million in consultants. Couldn't some of that, a good majority of that, gone towards some of the challenges faced in the education system in our country and helping our teachers in continuing education and so forth? I'm sure the member for Angleston would say that she could have used some of that $280 million, Mr. Deputy Speaker. What about the $1.1 million that was spent on one trip? $1.1 million on a trip. $1.1 million on one trip. So the Bahamian people, they look at this and they say, yeah, we hear you, but what you do and what you say does not add up.
No, it doesn't.
Does not add up, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So as much as the government talks about what they believe they have been doing in all aspects, but we're talking about education today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the truth is that it is almost a lifetime between what they say and what the Bahamian people see that they have done, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I just wanted to say up front, as we prepare for general elections, however soon it may be, these are the issues that are on the Bahamian people's minds. And as the government talks about progress, the Bahamian people have a different view of what has happened over the last 4 to 5 years. And they are the ultimate judge and jury. And very soon, this government will hear what the Bahamian people have to say, Madam Speaker. We all will hear. No, but we all will hear. But in particular, the government has asked the Bahamian people for another 5 years based on what they have promised. And I am simply saying that what they promised the Bahamian people and what they in fact have given the Bahamian people, two different things, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker,
Find that 120
Mr.
million.
Deputy Speaker.
Where's the 120 million you promised?
Right,
Where's
Mr.
the
Deputy
120?
Speaker.
Lie to the
Order,
Mr. Deputy
members.
Speaker.
Lie to the public. Please.
Order, members.
Yes.
St. Barnabas has the floor.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, and you know, that's another thing. The $120 million. Exuma, they're talking about all of the things that they have fulfilled. Where's the $120 million? Just silence. Just silence. Silence on the Grand Lucayan deal. Silence, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But they won't talk about those things, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I move into the merits of the bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there is something of note that has been on the Bahamian people's minds that we feel is vitally important to put on the table this morning, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We continue to hear deep concerns and get anecdotal evidence, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of persons who are trying to circumvent our democratic system, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We're hearing of additional incidents, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we will report to the necessary authorities of persons trying to pass over fraudulent passports in this process of registering. It is a concern, and while on this side, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the member for Marco City, the leader of the opposition, has been very clear that we don't intend to be alarmists on this side, but what we do know, that it is not what has been said by the side opposite, simply a few isolated incidents here and there. There's a problem, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and we need to fix it, and we need to fix it right away, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And so all the attempts by the government to try to minimize this issue of where persons would have used.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Mr. Deputy, I believe the government, in all of its utterances, has indicated that these allegations are serious. And as responsible leaders on the other side, if they have information that's relevant to an investigation, they ought to provide it to the police and the proper authorities and stop fear-mongering, Mr. Deputy.
You all don't know their address.
They're politicking and fear-mongering. If you have information, give it to the police. That's what responsible leaders do.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And what responsible leaders do, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is not what the member for Exuma and the members opposite continue to do, which is try to diminish the severity of this issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in our view. That's what responsible leaders do, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
I indicated that any allegations involving passports is a serious one. I just said that. Nobody is diminishing any such claims, and if leaders on the opposite side have information relevant to the matter, they should report it to the authorities. It's that simple.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Marco City.
Mr. Deputy, again, Central and Southern Lucha hit it on the head. The member for Exuma did not stand on a point of order. There was no misleading comment being delivered by the member for St. Barnabas. What he is seeking to do is to direct us on where to hand the information. When I last spoke in here, I laid on the table of the House of Assembly, Mr. Deputy, a document that this side insisted, one, didn't exist, but we laid it on the table. So when the member starts talking about get it to the relevant authorities, we are fully aware, Madam Speaker, that the relevant authorities have the information. Madam Speaker, in fact, it's the relevant authorities who provided us with the information because they certainly did not have confidence that this government was going to address the issue, Madam Speaker. In fact, Madam Speaker, Mr. Deputy, the Prime, no less than the Prime Minister indicated that this issue of a fraudulent passport, putting someone in a position to get a voter's card, was an isolated event. And so Mr. Deputy, may I complete the concept so he can at least know what he is objecting to? And the Prime Minister indicated it was an isolated event. What we sought to do, Mr. Deputy, is to point out that that statement was untruthful. So we reference what we know exists, a list of at least 290 or so. We had a partial list, 74 or thereabouts from that list. Up to that point, Mr. Deputy, the public heard a Prime Minister say isolated event. We said it was far more than isolated and provided 74 matters under investigation, more than 10 immediately right now before the court. That then forced, to the point made by Exuma, that then forced, Mr. Deputy, that forced the government to have 2 press conferences confirming what we said. So for him to get up and grandstand about provide to the relevant authority, I'm just saying for the record, the relevant authority does not have confidence in your administration, so they have provided the information because they know we'll get it to the public.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, a point of order on both matters. Firstly, with regards in Barnabas. Earlier, he spoke about the member for Angliston wishing he had some of those consultancy funds. He's familiar with it, so he knows that is dishonest because quite a bit of the consultancy funds was spent in education, just as they were spent in the dump. He's now asking how much. He's now asking how much. He's now asking how much, Mr.
Order,
Deputy
members,
Speaker,
order.
which indicates that he doesn't wish to be honest with the Bahamian people, because he could have said, out of the 280, whatever, this is what went to education. On the issue of who appears to be serious about the security of our documents, he flouted 300. He's not produced 300. The authorities have said that it was 98 that were forwarded from 2005. By all accounts, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is the amazing thing. This was happening under this administration, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is being addressed. How many were addressed under the administration in which the member for Marco City was a cabinet minister? The current candidate, Mr. Deputy Speaker, who I believe is running in South Beach, had responsibility over the passport office, and they came up with 0. And most of the 98 being investigated passed through that time. So if, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we know, for instance, let's say we know, for instance, that drugs are flowing and they don't intercept one shipment, having intercepted one shipment, they complain now that we're catching a bunch of criminals when they caught none. Some people may come to see who is serious about enforcing the law. And the chief passport officer, Mr. Deputy Speaker, indicated that he found and he sent the relevant authorities, the chief passport officer, who is one of the persons who gave a press conference, and I'm confident in saying that, bearing in mind, he is saying that the problem was created by cabinet conclusion that they put in place. They have no confidence in them in the past, and I think very few people have confidence in Marco City, including many FNMs.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Marco
Mr.
City.
Deputy, I would not take on the missing member for Freetown, who constituents continue to look for to provide quality representation. And let me just say this, so, Mr. Deputy, that the member of Parliament for Freetown, we invite him to lay the documents on when these various identification documents that are in question were in fact issued. He should go ahead and list that. I know that the Bahamian people are primarily concerned about the way in which this administration is dealing with fraudulent NIB cards, voters' cards, passport, that we are particularly concerned about that. So I invite you to make your case as the diligent attorney that you continue to be, lay the documents and the corresponding dates. I will say this final thing, Mr. Deputy. It is interesting that you all could hold multiple press conferences when there are investigators waiting for the people who appear in these press conferences to appear in court or to caucus with them to prepare the cases in order for us to clear the backlog of those matters being investigated. They are being investigated for an extended period of time, Mr. Deputy, through you, because they have not gotten the requisite cooperation from persons who could advance the investigation. And so we ain't guessing that. We know that's why there's a backlog. So rather than do a press conference, do an in-camera caucus with officials so that they are able to solve these problems that is creating anxiety among Bahamians. That's what he needs to do.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
I know that we're in politics season, but to say that the Royal Bahamas Police Force, having received the list, have actually sent 24 more people to court in a shorter period of time, in a matter of months, than they sent one person in 4 years when they were there. The Royal Bahamas Police Force, Financial Crimes Unit continue to work on the matter, so unlike when they're in power and they rush matters to court, by the time we get to the court, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that is why you've already had 2 guilty pleas, another person working on a plea agreement, the other matters adjourned for trial, being prepared for trial, something is strange to them because they didn't even charge one person when it is happening. That's what you have to be concerned about when you know that people are doing things and there's one administration who nobody is called to account and another administration that calls people to account. The public should be confident that this administration is calling people to account, charging them before the court and getting convictions when they want to know what is progress. They should see progress as charging and getting conviction, not sitting down and nothing happening, not a one person. That's progress, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Marco City.
I'll leave this matter because I'm confident, Mr. Deputy, that the public that's living this reality of knowing so many persons who have documents that they are not entitled to, and knowing when these documents proliferated, grew in large numbers, that they know. So I'm not going to belabor that. I only want to say this through you to those hardworking officers, hardworking prosecutors, hardworking members of the Registrar General's Office, NIB, Immigration, the good actors who are the majority of persons. I only want to say this to them. We know that you are working hard, but despite your best efforts, you are unable to get cooperation from this administration who behaves in a way as if it is in their interest that the system does not work, that we will behave differently than them. That's the point I want to talk to them.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, you wouldn't think that this is a group of persons that said they couldn't catch snow in the Arctic because they caught nobody at all. 4 workers from the passport office have already been charged. And the fact that you hold people to account speaks for itself, plain and simple. Now, what they did, which the public should know, is that the member for Marco City, the member for East Grand Bahama was sitting in a cabinet, and the candidate for South Beach and the candidate for Bamboo Town was sitting in a cabinet that decided to remove the strictures of the inspection of documents when you renew your passport. That is what they did. And the chief passport officer cited the cabinet conclusion of their administration that removed the audit check for somebody getting a passport renewed. And just about all 98 of the referrals come about by a restoration of the guardrails by this administration, so that the hard-working persons at the Passport Office, NIB, Registrar General, were then able to be pulled together in an all-of-government effort to clear up the mess that was occasioned by the cabinet conclusion that was spoken to by the Chief Passport Office. The member for Marco City says, why did this administration address in an urgent and serious matter a scurrilous allegation that could lead Bahamian people to think that everything was awry? It was because of the importance of the matter. Because of the importance of the matter, we would never do a cabinet conclusion like they did. And he was at the table. East Grand Bahama was at the table. The candidate for South Beach was at the table and responsible for the area. The candidate for Bamboo Town was at the table. And they participated in that cabinet conclusion. It's quite clear.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
The public was too deaf to you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, just to wrap this up, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to get back to education, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in fact, let's educate the member for Freetown on the backdrop of this initial point and the point that the member for Marco City has continuously made, and this caucus has continuously made. It was minimized when the member for Marco City, when the leader of the opposition brought it to the awareness of the Bahamian people. It was minimized. And even recently, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Prime Minister said fake voter cards pose no systematic threat, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And so if you're talking, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if you're talking about one or two, now the government has acknowledged how much? 98?
98 being investigated.
98. And while the member talks about what they've caught, the Bahamian people asked, what haven't they caught? And that's the fundamental question. What are we doing? What are we doing to ensure that some, or what has fallen through the cracks, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and the member for Marco City. The member for Marco City said in here last week and made the Bahamian public aware that there were 8 persons who are now on the register, who were being investigated. Whether it's 1 or 91, it's of concern to the Bahamian people, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So as much as the government, they can't have it both ways. On one hand, they diminished it, and now all of a sudden, they are now the carriers and the protectors in a way that they haven't been before, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
I understand how St. Barnabas seeks the bait and switch. The point that it poses no systematic problem to voting is a point made by former Prime Minister Ingram as well. Yes. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I say, they seem to be constantly seeking to build a case for why they can get what they can get when we have that day. But it is quite clear, they have agents, we have agents, and we will ensure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, just as they will ensure through their agents, that we work with the parliamentary commissioner so that there will be an orderly, free, and fair elections. And it is not, Mr. Deputy Speaker, responsible to act as they're acting, and we would just say that it speaks for itself.
Responsible when you accuse the police as a defense attorney and become head of the police and now saying something different, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They cannot have it both ways, and the Bahamian people see it for what it is, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I move into the substance of this debate, again, just want to really thank all of the educators and educational professionals in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We are all beneficiaries, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and products of educators, teachers who would have instilled in us so many of our values and made us who we are today. We know the importance of educators in terms of the lives of our students, particularly at an early age, and their impact, that they in fact spend more time with us in our early ages, in our educational development, even than our parents on a particular day. So we do want to continue to congratulate and honor those educators, Madam Speaker, Mr. Deputy, apologies, those who are retired and those who are presently now in the system, and ensuring that our students continue to make their way in their development, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, one of the things that we all can appreciate, I have five children, 3 daughters, 26, twins, 23, who are now on the back end of their tertiary education, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But in my case, I'm also fortunate to have a 7-year-old and a 15-month-old, 16-month-old, and yes, 16-month-old, who, if I had forgotten the importance of early childhood education, because my children, my daughters, my older children, have moved on, I am indeed reminded every day, as I said, because of the 7-year-old and indeed the 16-month-old, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have contributed to national insurance. So just the importance of it, you have a reminder every day, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we talk about education, and we would be doing a disservice to the Bahamian people if we just looked at education. Yes, the importance of these bills, but if we looked at it in a too narrow sense, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I found it amazing in the debate last week, and the member for Marco City again brought it up, and I think it's worth mentioning again today in this debate, that as we talk about the importance of education and developing competent skills, Mr. Deputy Speaker, from all, again, different experiences. Education is very wide, and its impact on our country, on our economy, on our culture is important. And so, yes, we do remember, as was said last week, how the members opposite dealt with persons, the creatives, and how they demeaned the creatives when they spoke about the member for Marco City, and try to diminish what it is that they do. Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Asking somebody what they do is not demeaning them. And if one were proud of it, you would say, I'm a creative, and I'm also a human resource consultant on your political page. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as the member for Cat Island, Ramkey and San Salvador says, you can look at what we've done for the creatives and see what we think of them. I know it's kind of touchy that if somebody says, what do you do? and you yourself may have doubts that you may think asking that question alone is being the meaning. But nothing ever said by Cat Island, Rumkins, and Salvador ever demeaned Marco City because of him having been a creative, nor do I find it interesting for somebody who was so proud of it. I invite the Bahamian people to look at what he describes himself as on his party's website.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Mr. Deputy Speaker. Real job. Davis comments on Pintard poetry spark backlash, right? And it says here, Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis faced backlash after questioning whether Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard had ever held a real job. Comments Bahamians interpreted as a slight against creatives and the country's orange economy.
The chair recognizes the honourable member
We
for Freetown.
object to the reading of anything other than somebody's actual words. The question was, what do you do as a job? He steadfastly refused to say it. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when one looks at it, and it's what the games you play, when you have a quote on somebody, you can say, I agree with this quote that somebody says. To talk about interpretation raises the issue right there. And I would know that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. A writer of satire would know that. And so I know certainly that Marco City knows that. And so as my friend, another creative, Brother Monka, used to say, when you see intelligent people playing fool, it's for a reason.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you, Mr.
That could not be more true.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But again, Mr. Deputy Speaker, on this issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you know, the disparity between what they say and what they do is so clear. Yeah. Because over the past few months, at every opportunity, the member for Freetown in particular, he probably has it in his bag, has that great piece of satirical work by the member for Marco City. But instead of him mentioning that as a piece of satire and the great work that the member for Marco City did relative to the satirical piece, he uses it, and it was used in schools, he uses it to try to diminish the member for Marco City. So on one hand, they say they respect the creatives, but they come in here and lambaste the creative work of even the member of Marco City, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The Bahamian people can see right through it.
Yeah, the chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
I acknowledge that it was satire, and just so he would be refreshed, satire is actually making fun of how people really are. How you really think people are, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because satire is designed as the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose, denounce, or criticize human vices, follies, abuses, or shortcomings. And the public will well remember, after I read that, I suggested that Marco City might have back then held a different view than he did now. And Marco City says he still holds these same views when he wrote the book to use humor, irony, exaggeration, and ridicule to expose, denounce, or criticize what he saw to be the human vices of the Bahamian public.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, but this point on the denigrating by members opposite of the creatives, Mr. Deputy Speaker, does bring to mind a fundamental point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, about misconceptions that we must continue to dispel in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and that is that, on 2 points, that whether it's leadership in a country or the ability just fundamentally to be a successful citizen and contributing citizen, Mr. Deputy Speaker, has nothing to do with, or limited, I should say, with your profession, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And in this case, as we talk about this education bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and the member of Angliston talks about it a lot, and I think talked about it today, that the truth is that it's not just the traditional route that has to be taken for someone to be a successful citizen, for someone to be a contributing citizen to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And though there is a distinction between the point made about being on a creative track, but there's still also the fundamental issue that we must dispel this misconception that in order to be a contributing Bahamian citizen to the development of our country, and there are so many, hundreds of thousands of instances over since our independence, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of persons for whatever reason, life, different issues, challenges that they've had. They've not sat in the formal environment of a university, but still have gone on to be very successful business people, successful contributors to our country. They are our icons, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and people who we are on their shoulders. And we have to dispel this misconception that it is only through the formal route of education, the traditional route of education, are you validated, and it's simply not true. Because the reality of it is, as we know very well, there are generations before us who did not have that opportunity, but they made significant contributions to this country. I was the fourth of my family in terms of aunts and uncles to go to university. The great thing about it now is each one of my younger cousins have gone on to university, and that's the story of all of us. But again, it started with generations before us who, whether because of personal economics or otherwise, didn't have the opportunity to sit in a classroom at the tertiary level. But we are here today because of them. So the importance of vocational training, Mr. Deputy Speaker, continues to be so important to our development. As in the Bahamian vernacular, it used to be said, and it still is said, you know, having a trade. My granduncle, who's passed now, was a carpenter, and he always would talk about it. And he would do his best to try to teach me some things. My father, who was an engineer at Z&S, but beyond that, was in the auto body repair and was one of the pioneers. And so throughout my life, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have seen the benefits of life experience and self-education, if you will, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And the truth is that you are able now to forward your educational interests just by sitting at home and being on a laptop, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So we must dispel this stigma and misconception again that the only way to be successful and to be a successful citizen is to go down a traditional track, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we talk about education in our country, and I mentioned it earlier, there are so many aspects of what a government ought to do that impacts that. Talk about the infrastructure of our schools and what is needed, and the challenges that governments continue to have in making sure that we have adequate schools, the adequate infrastructure, the adequate supplies. We all know very well as members of Parliament how the teachers in the schools that are in our constituencies, Mr. Deputy Speaker, many of them, if not all of them, go into their pockets all of the time. to assist students. And it is a labor of love and the sacrifices that they make, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So we must continue to be aware of these intersecting issues that continue to impact how our students are learning, how it is that the environment that they are in, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And on this bill in particular, just some things of note, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, on the and let me just say too, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the lowering of the compulsory age, we feel is vitally important. We are in support of the bill. The member for Marco City will elucidate many of the aspects of education that we feel is necessary and that will happen in our administration when we become the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas very soon, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But in particular, the education bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I can remind you all what Angliston, to her credit, man, you know, I give her credit for a lot of things, my family from Auckland. One thing she always say, you know, things has happened quickly. You know, it was four of them in 2017, and then it became all of you. So you know things can change quickly. It could become four of you again.
Just be
you know?
more confident when you say
you know?
it next time.
You know, but listen. Freetown. You know, I would tell you some things what's going on in Freetown, but we'll just wait for the day when the people of Freetown will make their decision.
We will.
You know?
Just like Golden Isles
right?
too.
So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Clause 18, talking about school boards, right? The chairman may be removed by the minister, right? So we are concerned that a sole minister has the ability to move the chairman of a school board when we should be looking for opportunities to create more autonomy, more independence, and take these decisions away from the minister. And so I don't know if the member for Angliston wanted to comment on that, but we do feel that that is something that really needs to be looked at, because what we don't need more of is government involvement in many aspects of our daily lives, and in particular, as school boards who have the ability and know the schools very well, who knows the faculty very well, who knows who are in the environment. There has to be some way to create the opportunity to have more of an independence than the minister having the ability to unilaterally move the chairman of a school board, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, of note as well, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is, I think it's clause 2. Special education, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We all know how important it is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for us to recognize that students learn differently. People learn differently, and persons have different challenges, and not even your very own. You could have 5 children and they all learn differently and need to be put in different environments conducive for their particular challenge and the way they learn, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And so this issue of people who learn differently, as well as the need to determine those persons who require special education, Mr. Deputy Speaker, again, It's vitally important to the development of our people. We have to do our best to strip away the stigma that's associated with special needs, special education, and to those who learn differently, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The truth is, for example, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there are students who are on the spectrum, who are autistic, but that doesn't mean they don't have the ability to learn in a formal concept, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Yes, there is assistance that may be needed and some nuances that you have to consider. But the point is that it does not in any way invalidate their ability to thrive. And so being aware of who requires special needs and a special structure, if you will, and to be able to take them out of the formal setting, for example, if need be, and to put them in a setting that allows them to thrive is very, very important to our development, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think broadly that our education system in our country needs to become more agile, and even with the progress that we've made from administration to administration, that there needs to be a commitment to continue to innovate, to increase, and to improve the skill sets, and to make sure that we are ensuring that the labor force is increasing the skills that are needed for for a growing democracy and for what we would envision for the future of our country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. You know, this government has had to contend with the fact that youth unemployment is in the high double digits, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And so we need to develop programs, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We need to tailor-make policies and programs specifically for the youth of this country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the contributions of the Free National Movement, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to the educational development of our country, though it probably wouldn't be said by the members opposite, is there to be noted, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I just wish to, as I close, to mention them, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So we built a new pre-K school and expanded universal preschool access, now serving more than 3,000 students nationwide. We made a $1 million available to preschool owners for a facility expansion and refurbishment, providing grants of up to $25,000 to 36 centers across the Bahamas. Changed the school lunch menu to ensure that balanced, nutritious meals are provided to children in the government school lunch program. Increased, may I just have one last?
Yeah, you can wrap up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Increased scholarship funding to the College of the Bahamas by $1 million for students unable to meet tuition costs. Increased funding for teacher training at COB and boosted government educational loans and scholarship funding for national and international institutions from $400,000 to $8 million. Increased merit, academic, and technical scholarships from $400,000 to $2 million, creating the system of annual national scholarship grants. Introduced the visionary grant program for tuition-free college education at the University of the Bahamas and BTVI, leading to a 50% increase in UB enrollment with an additional 10% projected annual growth. Repaired and restored 15 schools in Grand Bahama and Abaco following Hurricane Dorian in partnership with local and international NGOs. Purchased some close to 6,000 tablets and Wi-Fi devices for students on the lunch program, and in partnership with the private sector, distributed thousands of tablets and laptops nationwide. Signed a contract with BTC to install fiber optic cable in all government schools, Nearly 60%, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of schools now have connectivity, allowing teachers and students to use smart technology for modern learning, and provided all students and teachers in the Family Islands communities of Miguana, Inagua, Acklins, Crooked Island, San Salvador, Rum Key, Cat Island, and Andros, Congo Town, and Mangrove Key with digital devices for the new year in the 2021 school year. Created a structured teaching career path to attract and retain qualified educators. Stopped hiring teachers at the bottom of the pay scale, ensuring fairer compensation. Increased funding for teacher training and professional development. Expanded the national school system with new primary and secondary schools. And lastly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, prioritized early childhood education and lifelong learning through expanded government partnerships and targeted grants. Mr. Deputy Speaker, and as I take my seat, Mr. Deputy Speaker, let us continue to remind ourselves of the importance of our education system and whatever we can do along with this bill to make things better as we continue to foster and to solidify, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the prosperity for our young people and for our country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, just two matters I wondered. St. Barnabas said that youth unemployment was in the high double digits, which would mean 60% or up. The high double digits. Double digits start at 10. 10 is the low double digit. 90 is the highest.
So esoteric.
So I just want him to acknowledge he's not talking about 50% or he's talking about the central bank figure of 20%.
Nobody in Freetown understands.
Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, next thing, a report would say youth unemployment high double digits, and we wouldn't want to misattribute St. Barnabas. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, St. Barnabas spoke about the ability of a minister to remove a chairman of a school board, which is by 18.3. And I wonder if he would accept that it's very constrained. It's either that the chairman is absent for 3 or more consecutive meetings or unable to act without a valid excuse or notice of his absence, or, in the opinion of the minister, he considered it necessary to do so. That's where the minister has discretion, but what follows is what must be found as a fact, where a serious violation of the regulation of the school board has occurred. So where there's been a serious violation, and then the minister says, bearing in mind the seriousness of it, they have to go. And of course, when you see minister, that means cabinet. Sorry. Five minutes to one.
As many? The chair recognizes the honorable member for South Beach. Yeah.
Mr. Deputy, I want to, through you to Madam Speaker, say thank you to her for her graciousness that she would have extended to me here in such a professional manner, as always being very fair and firm. And I wanted to begin by setting the record straight, to say that I am proud of what she has done in this place since her ascension. So I want the record to reflect that and to reflect my gratitude. But Mr. Deputy, this administration has spent the past 2,368,170 minutes in government, according to my watch, Mr. Deputy. And Mr. Deputy, indeed it is right. I must say to you that we have had the mandate to govern. And Mr. Deputy, the Bahamian people can guarantee and will guarantee to you that not a single minute of that has been spent wasted. But this administration has been doing their work. They've been planning, plotting a suitable course towards the future on the behalf of the Bahamian people. And although, Mr. Deputy, the signs of the times are evident, this administration today is yet again doing as we have done in the past, we continue to do in the present. Mr. Deputy, I will tell you, I look forward to returning here in a few short weeks to continue the future building on the progress that we have made in this term. I look forward, Mr. Deputy, to returning here as a member of this honorable House, where my colleagues and I will be counted right here to continue the work we've begun by assessing the foundation that we have laid and subsequently building on that foundation with policies that I hear will take us higher as a people, as a community, and as a nation. That is my why, Mr. Deputy. It is the reason I've chosen to participate in this journey of politics, and it is the reason I continue to come here as often as we convene to speak, particularly in these instances where, because I, again as always, simply cannot permit the history books to be written or have the record of this House populated without the voice of South Beach being firmly and wholly added to the record. South Beach. After all, Mr. Deputy,
Member.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, South Beach assures me he is going to be short, and so I would move that the House do sit beyond 1 p.m. to permit him to conclude.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the business of the House do continue beyond the 1 p.m. hour. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The business of the House will continue beyond the 1 p.m. hour.
Mr. Deputy, that is exactly why I asked to come here. And that is why I was sent here by the people of South Beach. Therefore, as my common practice, I say thank you to them, Mr. Deputy, for what I am witnessing as I canvass my constituency daily is their continued support and confidence in me to speak on their behalf, Mr. Deputy. And I shall do that, Mr. Deputy, every opportunity possible, and I will do it with my full effort. Secondly, Mr. Deputy, my family remains phenomenal in their role of supporting me daily along this journey. And much of what I do for the people of South Beach would not even be as half as impactful or at all possible without their support. Something that I cherish and credit for renewing my zeal to build a better Bahamas. Mr. Deputy, Team South Beach is also not to be left out. They are on the ground in South Beach daily, Mr. Deputy, gathering intelligence, insight, and information about the needs and wants and desires of the residents. They're taking the names, the numbers, the addresses, and keeping me laser focused, Mr. Deputy, on messaging to bring, on the messages that I should bring to this place every time that I come. This is important to me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because when I say, Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak on the behalf of the people of South Beach, I want to be confident that I am earnestly and honestly doing just that. Mr. Deputy, it is the honor of my life to have such a privilege, and I am equally honored to have a team that works unbelievably hard to ensure that I execute on the constituency's behalf with precision, dedication, and conviction of heart that the utterances which I speak in this place represent the will and intention of the people from the place I represent. This, Mr. Deputy, is the reason that I must, on the public record today, support both bills before us namely the Education Bill 2026 and the National Youth Commission Bill 2026. Whilst I'm on my feet, Mr. Deputy, let me say that as a Junkanoo, that I support the recently debated National Junkanoo Authority, and I believe it will bring about a new, more exciting national approach to how Junkanoo is executed and participated in. And I believe that Junkanoo or Junkanoo's best days are ahead of it because we were able to pass such legislation. But Mr. Deputy, I support these bills because I believe they are taking us from where we were, or even where we are, to where we need to go as a nation. The bills, Mr. Deputy, provide strategic direction and oversight by bodies and have specific duties to monitor the development of something so crucial, so critical, which is development of our youth. How they are educated, Mr. Deputy, how they are socialized, and provides for testable and measurable outcomes over time. That, Mr. Deputy, are the signs of a thinking administration, in my opinion. That, Mr. Deputy, is proof that this administration understands that cabinet cannot be the end-all in a nation building, and that in order to build a fully functioning society, there must be bodies, commissions, and authorities that are empowered to shape policy and enact them and with the best interests of the people they are mandated to legislate and preside over. But, Mr. Deputy, some may argue that what is written in these bills are already actively being participated in or practiced. I say in response to such an assertion, Mr. Deputy, that it is the duty of a government to direct and to instruct, but more importantly, to ensure that its legislative agenda is modern enough and that it is recent, and that it actively considers the present state and the desired outcome and results of the future. That is why we, on this side, truly are so much better than the others that have had the opportunity to govern. It is because our vision casting is broader and broad, and it looks far into the future, Mr. Deputy. We have proven that we are not the type of government that implements the knee-jerk policy reactions like those concerning passports that we see are causing such fear and anxiety among our population. While the architects of the catastrophe sit here and look amazed that their bad policy is having bad results, while suggesting corruption on the part of an administration trying to clean up their missteps, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, we are different from them, and I am almost bold enough to say, Mr. Deputy, that we are better than them. We understand that the people elected us to govern and to empower and have empowered us to do it on their behalf. That is why we are doing things like focusing on youth development with this bill, because there have been petitions throughout the length and breadth of this nation for a government to meaningfully engage our youth, for a government to save their souls, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I work closely with young people. And I always say to my young people, I try to ensure that they understand that they are more than just gold chains with a coin medallion around their neck. And that we are more than just BBLs and eyelashes. But Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, I know, Mr. Deputy, indeed, I will. I know, Mr. Deputy, that in this age, the chat and Nova and other AI tools, I'm advised, can allow anyone to write a speech on any subject matter without ever reading the contents of the primary document. But I invite those on side opposite to not waste the time of this place and this house. if we are here to debate such a critical and crucial subject that relates to our future, we're talking about youth and education. Don't come in here talking about all kind of unsundry things. Stick to the subject matter. Anyhow, I direct their attention, and Mr. Deputy, I invite them to go and to read the Youth Commission bill, in particular Section 3. So Part 3, the powers, duties, and functions of the Commission. The Commission shall implement policies, programs, and projects consistent with the National Youth Policy, which will empower the youth to develop their potential for national development. The Commission shall assist in the creation of employment opportunities for youth and develop medium and long-term strategies to reduce youth unemployment in the Bahamas. The Commission shall initiate youth development programs in collaboration with relevant government and non-governmental bodies. The Commission shall coordinate and monitor the youth development programs, shall revise the National Youth Policy every 3 years. The Commission shall collaborate with other government or non-governmental bodies in the provision of youth skills training programs and schemes. The Commission shall provide a focal point for addressing drug abuse by the youth and its related problems. This is a very serious document that speaks to the formation of a commission that will help to ensure that our future, the future of this nation, remains intact. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there is simply no reason, no way reasonably justified not to agree with this bill and what this bill is seeking to do. There is no way one can come into this House, where we're supposed to be discussing this bill, and before this Parliament, and you, Mr. Deputy, to come and waste the people's time. I'm of the view that it would be foolish or child's play even to come into this Parliament where the cameras are rolling, where Joe Public can witness it, and you come to this Parliament to play politics and be discussing such a serious issue. Mr. Deputy, as I take my seat, the Prime Minister continues to prove that when he asks the people of the Bahamas to give the people of the PLP a chance to create a new day, Mr. Deputy, he was serious about creating one. Mr. Deputy, the Prime Minister continues to prove that when he said he had a clearly laid out blueprint for change, he was being honest and has proven over this period that he was intentional about getting it done. Mr. Deputy, now the Prime Minister, our meticulously visionary and eminently qualified Prime Minister, a KC and a barrister for 50 years, which is something I learned while he was in Freeport the other day, breaking the social order of the status quo in Grand Bahama, say he is ready to build on progress. And I say I have no reason to believe or no reason to doubt that he will, from what I've seen. I support the Prime Minister. I support Philip Brave Davis, and I invite the people of South Beach to also support him through this member's course. I will be on the ground daily in my constituency. My constituency office will remain open. Their concerns or the constituents' concerns are a priority of himself. And I want to tell them the message that progress is not imminent, but rather it is purposefully pursued and must be purposely pursued, and that the most guaranteed way to ensure we build on progress is not to go back to the policymakers that pray and hope in times when things should be directed and legislated. The best way to build on progress is not to elect people who have proven they could not govern under pressure, who claim that the reason they failed to provide relief to the people of Abaco when they had a chance was because they faced such a Chilean difficulty, despite the massive outpouring of aid and assistance that the world was volunteering. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the best way to build on progress is to go with brave, or to go with the brave, to go with a team that faces difficulties head-on and makes tough decisions, but that does not do so by compromising the Bahamian people, but does so with compassion. Mr. Deputy, we have proven that we do not just deserve to govern, but we have earned the right to govern. And so, Mr. Deputy, I support the bills being debated today. I support the youth. I support youth development, and I support this progressive Liberal Party and its administration. And in doing so, I am certain that we will seek to do so in the next few weeks, Mr. Deputy, and when the dust settles, we will remain in this place. South Beach supports progress. South Beach support these bills. South Beach rests. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
Deputy Speaker, I now move that the business of the House be Oh, sorry. Gordon Hills would just like to lay a document. I think he promised to.
Order that the documents be brought up.
We go to 3:15. Go to 3:15.
3:50.
Or 3 o'clock, easy.
3 o'clock. Order that the documents do lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now move that the House do suspend the 3 p.m., at which time St. Anne's will be on the floor, to take the floor.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the business of the House be suspended until 3 p.m. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The business of the House stands suspended until 3 p.m.